Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of our Pack Politics podcast. Guys, my name is Brittany McDowell, and again, I'm so thankful that you decided to tune in. Our podcast is brought to you by our organization, our United Resource PAC. In case you don't know, we are a tax-exempt political organization. How did we end up where we are with no stimulus, right? Most people, myself included, but pretty a lot earlier on, not anytime recently, but a lot of people really thought that at this point, or before this point, we would have received another stimulus package. That has not been the case. And so a lot of people are talking about, well, how do we move past this? How do we put ourselves in a position as a country where we can actually get that stimulus package, come to an agreement? Guys, we cannot do it if we are not willing to realize the reason we are in the position we are in. So, and it's not as complex as a lot of people would like you to think. It's not, this and the complexities of that and then this and that. No, it's that. Right? It's a singular thing that has us where we are. Now, there are a lot of contributing factors that, have ended up with us in this situation where we don't have a stimulus, but those factors kind of happened and transpired after a particular event happened. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, again, why we are and how we are where we are, which is nowhere, right? In this position of not having a stimulus package. So it's not a long, complex thing. It's not going to take a lot of explaining. So this is not going to be a long, drawn-out episode. So sit back and let's get this question answered, because it definitely needs to be answered. So I might confuse you. Okay, just hear me out. When we ask the question of how are we here as a country in a position where we have yet to reach a stimulus bill, where we are yet to be in a position where we can all agree, regardless of political affiliation, where we can agree on not just the fact that our economy needs stimulus, but the way in which we are going to stimulate the economy. How did we end up here? It's obvious to people stimulus is needed. Well, to some, I can't say all, but to most, it's obvious. How are we here? Well, while the actual answer to that is simple, while it's not some complex, totally convoluted thing, it was something that happened over the course of a few months. Let me kind of rephrase that. How we ended up here happened over the course of a few months, but the actual singular event that led to us being in this position where, again, not where we need stimulus, but where we, because our need is from the pandemic, right? Okay, I'm going to stop talking because I'm totally confusing myself, but how we've ended up in this position where we still do not have stimulus happened as a result of a singular event, okay? And that singular event has led to months worth of crap happening, quite frankly, right? It's been an utter crap show. I would use the other word, but I will not do that, right? That is not ladylike. So, obviously, if you think back to when we were sold on the need for economic stimulus before the lockdowns occurred, it was a pretty universal thought, not just within the political elites, but it was a pretty universal thought with economists that even if we came to a consensus regarding the need for stimulus, and even if we stimulated the economy, more likely than not, we would be in a position to need more stimulus. Okay? This is part of the reason why we got what we got with the last stimulus package. I can guarantee you, if we had known that we would be this many months out, dealing with craziness, and that the pandemic would still be, raging and roaring. And if we knew what we did, which, I mean, quite frankly, how could we have? It was totally new to the scene. If we knew what we did, we would have, quite honestly, believe it or not, in my opinion, we would have ended up with a more generous stimulus package, specifically in relation to the $1,200 checks. Because, I mean, at this point, how much would that have been per month for you? Could you have even paid your insurance bill every month? No. For most people, no. Right? So, everyone, including economists, said, okay, well, we need stimulus. We know we're going to need it immediately. We're not going to like give the moon and the stars because, ultimately we are going to come back to the table and we are going to have a conversation about what that is going to look like. Okay. So everyone is focusing on recent events. I'm guilty of it. If you listen to our last show, I briefly mentioned, I did not make the show about it, but I briefly mentioned how the president in the last few days has said no deal on stimulus, right? And then, he's changed his mind. And, most people are like, they don't even know, is it on? Is it off? Like, it's like a light switch, on, off, on, off, on. Like, people don't even know. You listen to different people within the administration, and then listen to the kind of acting secretary at this point, press secretary, you're hearing something completely different. But anywho, this, even the recent craziness that we've seen, with this deal, no deal, no deal, never, that was not the point at which we definitively ended up in a position where our fate of not having a stimulus became sealed. Again, and I can't stress this enough, not just politicians, but even economists, at the time where we had the original CARES Act proposed and passed, just the general understanding was that we are going to get these funds out, administer these different forms of stimulus. We're going to take a look at the data, and then we, more likely than not, are going to need more stimulus. Economists knew this, politicians knew this. After we had that first stimulus bill, this is where the truth comes in, and some people aren't going to like this. To that point, to the point at which we got to the first stimulus bill, everything was fine. Everyone was all on the same page. The problem came in when, after we got the first stimulus bill, after those funds were rolled out, after those funds, after we started to see some sort of data about how those funds and their use were impacting the economy, you know what? I'm going to pause this and we will be right back. All right. So I'm sorry about that. So when it comes to the point at which we had the stimulus bill and we started to get some sort of data about the impact on the stimulus that the stimulus was having on the economy, there was one very specific thing that happened. And it was the fact that Democrats crafted a proposal, and that proposal was supposed to give aid to the American economy. That was not the problem. The problem was not even the fact that Republicans had objected to it. The problem was when Mitch McConnell, whether of his own volition or not, claimed that we needed, I get to say my phrase again, if you have listened to a previous show, I love to say this, that we needed a pause. We need a pause. Pause, pause, pause. That's, in my mind, that's how I hear him say it. Pause. We need a pause. Just pause for a second. Pause, 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 pause. Say that like 15 times fast, right? So that was the point at which, to me, things went downhill. That is the singular cause. The pause is the cause that we are in the position of no stimulus. Yes, have some parties actually has Nancy been unreasonable? Yes. Has Mitch been unreasonable? Yes. Has the president been unreasonable? Yes. Have deals come along that maybe, should have been more consideration should have been given to? Yes, sure. Have have we gone too long? Just in general, yes. And we've gone too long because there was call for a pause. If we did not have that call for a pause, everything else that came after, I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened, but that was the singular event that you can kind of tie everything back to. The call for the pause. So, how have we ended up in this position where we have no stimulus? The simple answer is that Mitch McConnell called for a pause. Various politicians agreed to that call for a pause. As a result, nothing was done. With nothing getting done, we got crappy deals. We got, people, just everything kind of came after this call for a pause. Is a pause needed in life in various circumstances? Yes, but this was not one of those circumstances. This was the equivalent of telling someone who has had maybe a heart attack and needs defibrillation. Let's call for a pause. Let's pause. Why didn't we call for a pause when the president needed coronavirus, help, when he needed treatment for corona? What? No pause then? Why didn't we call for a pause when we wanted to? Are they talking about a pause when they want to just give money to the airline industries? Where's the pause in that? Pause, Mitch, pause. This is how we've ended up with no stimulus. A failed attempt at a pause, or in his words, a pause. Are you on Facebook? We're on Facebook. Check out our Facebook page in the description box of this episode. We have our blog posts, we share our latest episodes, we share relevant information related to COVID-19 economic stimulus and relief. Again, we do it all on our Facebook page. Check it out in the description box of this episode. See you there. Hey, this is Brittany. Just wanted to shoot you a quick reminder. Look in the description box of this episode and you can find a link to our website. On our website, you can find our latest blog posts. You can find our contact information. You even want to make a contribution, you can go over there and do that as well. You can find out the policies we are looking at and targeting as an organization. I say all the time that we are a tax-exempt political organization. If you want to know more about that, again, go on over to our website, our-pac.com, where you can find out everything you want to know. You can do everything you want to do. We will gladly welcome you on our website with open arms. Again, check out our website in the description box below. All right, so thank you for tuning in to this episode of our PAC Politics Podcast. Yes, a lot of things have transpired over the last few months, and we have been dealing with crap, quite frankly, for the last few months. But when you look at how we've ended up with no stimulus, it's not because of everything that has been happening over the last few months. Certain things happen as a result of something else. And all the stuff that we are seeing has happened as a result of one singular thing. And that is the call for, let me clear my throat. Here we go. The pause. Like I say it and I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So that is how we are where we are. And if we don't get it together, that is how we will continue to be where we do not want to be. Like, this is not the time to pause. This is not the time to, of course, you want to make calculations. Of course, you want to, be wise. But sometimes being wise means, as I say, going balls to the wall. Like, well, no, maybe not that. Sounded good in my mind before I said it. But anywho, that's our episode for this Friday. Stay safe. Wear your hazmat suit. And yeah, the elections are coming, and I can't tell you to take hope and comfort in an impending stimulus package being passed before the election. But what you can do is you can vote, and you can take hope in the fact that if you cast your vote with the knowledge that is embedded in truth, that you will hopefully aid in making a decision that will take our country in the right direction, because we're definitely not headed in the right direction right now. So that said, have a good weekend. Be safe. Wear your hazmat suit. And I will not see you Monday because we are off, but I will see you next Wednesday. Have a good one, guys. Thank you for listening.